It began with the screams. 3 nights in a row, teenagers across Maple Ridge woke up believing someone was inside their homes. Windows rattled without wind, bedroom walls trembled as if something enormous crawled beneath the wallpaper, and every dream ended on the same deserted place, Elm Street. Evan, Riley, Marcus, and Lee were close friends, but nothing prepared them for the fact that all 4 shared the exact same nightmare. They dreamed of a burning two-story house surrounded by children's chalk drawings melted into the concrete like ghosts frozen mid-play. In the doorway of the burning house stood a tall shadow, its edges melting like hot wax, whispering their names in a voice that felt older than fire itself. When they woke up, each of them had deep scratches across their forearms, and none could explain how they got there. The town shrugged off the reports, blaming stress, school pressure, or drugs. But the kids knew what they saw felt real. That same week, the news reported mysterious deaths across the USA. Victims dying in their sleep from heart failure, all between the ages of 15 and 21. A cold fear wrapped itself around Maple Ridge. Something impossible was happening. The next day, Evan convinced the group to return to the place from their nightmares, telling them Elm Street existed in real life outside the town, even though most adults insisted it didn't. They biked to the outskirts, where the road broke into cracked asphalt, surrounded by dead grass and leaning trees. But there it was, the burned house from their dreams. The walls were charred black, windows shattered, roof half collapsed. But what terrified them was that the air around it shimmered with heat, as if flames had only recently died out. Lee walked up to the ruined mailbox and brushed off ash, revealing the name Derek Shaw. Marcus stared at the scorched front door until faint whispering drifted from inside, calling his name. They found a half-burnt diary page pinned under fallen wood, reading, "Death is the beginning. Dreams are the doorway." That night, when Marcus fell asleep, the nightmare rushed back stronger. Derek's shadow appeared clearer, and Marcus felt burning hands pulling him toward the basement. When he snapped awake screaming, his feet were covered in soot, and ash lay scattered on his bedsheets. Their fear turned into certainty. Elm Street was real, and something inside it wanted them. Over the following week, panic spread across America. Kids from Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles posted videos online showing fresh burns on their bodies after nightmares. Doctors were helpless, calling it sleep paralysis gone wrong. Marcus stopped sleeping because every time he closed his eyes, Derek Shaw stood behind him with a dripping axe made of bone and fire. Evan found old newspaper files in the town library revealing that Derek Shaw had been executed in 1995 for burning children alive inside that very house they visited. But the article mentioned something more terrifying. Derek was not alone. A woman named Eliza Crane, a cult member obsessed with the supernatural, vanished the night of Derek's arrest. Rumors suggested she believed dreams were portals to immortality. Meanwhile, Marcus began sleepwalking into the forest each night, whispering, "He's waiting on Elm Street." Lee confessed that she saw children reflected in mirrors, standing behind her bedroom door, their mouths sewn shut. Across Maple Ridge, teenagers refused sleep, walking the streets with hollow eyes and shaking hands while ambulances carried unconscious victims to hospitals. Something ancient was feeding on dreams, and every hour the grip tightened. They realized Elm Street wasn't cursed by accident, it was chosen. Sleep became the enemy. The 4 friends tried to stay awake together, using cold showers, caffeinated pills, and even slapping each other's faces. Lee's mother threatened to take her to a psychiatrist, believing the nightmares to be mass hysteria. But when Evan accidentally fell asleep on the couch for only 3 minutes, He woke up with burns shaped like fingers around his neck. They decided to flee Maple Ridge, thinking distance might break the curse. Driving toward a neighboring town, they discovered every road curved unnaturally and returned them to Elm Street. GPS systems malfunctioned, phone maps glitched, and even the radio played a child chanting the street name over and over. That night, the nightmares grew worse. In the dream world, Derek Shaw appeared fully formed, wearing human skin stitched like a coat, while Eliza Crane whispered spells that made fire crawl across the sky. Lee saw her dead grandmother pulling her toward a grave marked with her name. Marcus screamed that his brother, dead 2 years, was calling him home. They realized the boundary between dream and reality was vanishing. They were trapped inside something supernatural, a cage built from memory and ash. Running was impossible. Only facing it remained. Riley found ancient documents written by native tribes, revealing that Elm Street was built over stolen burial grounds belonging to a tribe who believed dreams protected souls from evil spirits. Destroying that land allowed a demon to manifest through dreams. Derek Shaw had become its vessel, and Eliza Crane had opened the gateway using sacrificial fire. To stop the demon, the friends had to destroy the ritual anchor, Derek's burned basement. They gathered salt, gasoline, and old ritual symbols, planning to break into the basement at midnight to burn what remained. The house groaned as they entered, floorboards bending under invisible weight. Voices of children echoed through the hall, laughing and crying at the same time. Marcus saw his dead brother sitting on broken stairs, asking him to follow. Evan held Marcus back, but Marcus broke free and ran. They chased him into the basement, but he vanished in darkness, as if swallowed by living walls. They threw gasoline across the ground trying to ignite it, but the flame died instantly, smothered by cold air. The group heard footsteps coming toward them, slow, heavy, deliberate. Derek Shaw appeared, eyes glowing like burning coal. His voice promised they would never wake again. By morning, Marcus was gone. Police found his body floating in the river, lungs filled not with water but ash. Doctors had never seen anything like it. His organs were burned from the inside, yet his skin remained untouched. His phone contained a recording taken moments before death. Marcus whispering, "He's coming," followed by Derek Shaw's voice saying, "1 gone, 3 left." The town erupted in chaos. Parents dragged children into cars and fled, but the highways looped back into town like a maze. National media arrived, calling it America's sleep plague. Teenagers across the country, live, streamed themselves, terrified to close their eyes. Riley blamed himself for Marcus's death, while Lee cried nonstop, hearing Marcus's voice begging her to sleep so he wouldn't be alone. Evan tried to convince authorities that a supernatural force was responsible, but they dismissed him as traumatized. That night, Marcus appeared in their nightmares, eyes hollow, mouth stitched shut, pointing toward the basement. The nightmare ended with Derek ripping Marcus apart while laughing. They woke up bleeding from invisible cuts. Lee announced she couldn't fight anymore. She wanted sleep to end her pain. Evan promised to finish what Marcus began, even if it killed them all. Exhaustion broke their sanity. They agreed to enter the dream world on purpose and confront Derek directly. Evan researched lucid dreaming to control what happened inside. They fell asleep holding hands, whispering Marcus's name. The dream world they entered was a nightmare version of America. Roads melted into rivers of tar, skyscrapers bent and twisted like bone, forests screamed with the voices of children. Derek appeared wearing a cloak made from stitched human faces, holding a blade formed from teeth. Eliza Crane stood beside him chanting, shaping the dream's reality. Evan charged forward, attacking Derek with a burning spear conjured from thought. The demon roared as flames consumed him. Riley and Lee ran toward a doorway glowing white, believing it led to freedom. But Derek grabbed Evan and pulled him back as the floor turned to fire. Evan screamed for them to run and slashed the dream open with his mind, trapping himself and Derek inside a burning cage. Riley and Lee escaped just as the dream collapsed. Evan died that night peacefully, a faint smile on his face. The town declared him a hero, believing the nightmare over. But deep inside, Lee felt a wrongness, like something unfinished remained. A month passed and the world returned to normal. Schools reopened, sleep returned, and Maple Ridge breathed again. Lee and Riley moved to different states, trying to rebuild broken lives. At first, everything felt peaceful until strange reports surfaced on social media. Teenagers from Texas to Florida posted videos describing a new nightmare, a street with a burned house waiting at the end. None of those kids had ever heard of Maple Ridge. None knew Derek Shaw, yet suddenly, Elm Street appeared to all. Lee woke one midnight gasping for breath, finding ash on her bed sheets. Riley called her crying, saying Evan stood in his room whispering words she couldn't understand. Lee fell asleep for seconds and dreamed of Derek reborn, skin restored, standing stronger than ever. He smiled, whispering, "I never needed the town, I only needed belief." Across the nation, people began dying again. Elm Street was no longer a place. It was a virus living inside dreams, spreading through fear and memory. Lee looked into the mirror and saw Derek standing behind her in reflection. He leaned forward, whispering into her ear, "There is no waking up now." She screamed as her eyes turned black, and darkness swallowed America.